So David, when people enter into negotiations, sometimes they feel like they're facing an adversary. Now, two questions. Why is that incorrect? And what would you do to prepare to enter into a negotiation?
What you're really talking about is called win-win negotiations. And the idea here is if all you're going to do is beat up the other side, there's a really good chance you won't come out with a deal at the end. So the idea is, how do we end up with a successful transaction that both parties are happy with? So the first step in that, well, when I'm ready to negotiate for a client, there are really 6 essential steps that I take. So the first is education of my client as to the marketplace. Because if you don't understand the marketplace, you really are not in a position to negotiate, because you don't know whether the asking price is high or low, right? So you have to understand the property that you're desiring and want to negotiate on relative to the market around it. So I feel that 80% of my work is educating my client so that he or she can make the right decision. The second element for a successful negotiation is knowing the party with whom you are negotiating and what their needs are. So it's the typical beginner mistake is just to assume it's all about price and just say, well, here's my offer, what's your counter proposal, and just work on price. That's a beginner's mistake. What you really want to find out is what are their needs. So their need might be something beyond price. It might be timing. It might be the way the transaction is framed. There might be other considerations, perhaps being able to lease back the property for a period of time, or just other dynamics that are there. So that requires a negotiator like myself to be asking questions. So then once I have an understanding of the needs, I can proceed from there. I'd like to tell a little story if I can. Sure. This was a situation where I had a client who wanted to purchase a building. We were one of maybe 4 or 5 potential buyers. And my client was trying to buy the building and about $100,000 short. I spoke with the broker representing the seller and I said, is there a hot button for your client? Is there something they would really like to do or really like to accomplish? He said, David, if they could get this off their books by the end of the year, I could make that deal with you. It's very important to get it off their books. It was a big conglomerate. And he said to me, $100,000 is pocket change to this conglomerate. I went back to my buyer. I said, is there any way we could close by the end of the year? It was early October. I said, if so, we can get this done. And he said yes, and we closed on the deal at $100,000 less than another offer they had.
There's a win-win all around.
Right,
Yeah.
But it's a great example of looking to the needs of the other party in order to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish.
So it's really about being prepared and doing your own due diligence before you sit at the table, before you make an offer, to be armed with that information that can give you the flexibility.
Absolutely.
Very
Absolutely.
good.
I would say 80% of negotiating is that pre-negotiating research and understanding what the needs are on the other side.
That's very important information. Thank you, David. Don't miss any future segments. You can subscribe at huntcorp.com, and you can reach David at the information on the screen. See you next time.